Call the meeting to order, the Griggs County Commission, 1 o'clock, July 20th, 2018. That's the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call. John. Here. Dale. Here. Mark is absent. Sean. Here. Troy is here. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Moved by Dale to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, July 6th meeting minutes. I think in this big paragraph on page 4, you know, in the middle it says there was discussion on the sheriff budget, motion by Sean to approve the sheriff's budget as presented with the $20,000 into a reserve, seconded by Dale Peterson. Call for discussion. So next, I think it should be motion by John Wakefield to amend the motion by moving the $20,000 from the sheriff's budget into the general fund. And then after that, it should be there was discussion on the amendment.
Yep.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay, so there's motion by being called for discussion.
Yeah. And then it should say Chairman Olson called 3 times for discussion on the amended motion
Okay.
with roll call vote. Does that make sense?
Yep. Called 3 times on the amendment. Okay, got it.
That paragraph. Ernest absent, or did he was he step out?
Yeah, he stepped out for a phone call.
Okay.
And that was another one where up on the floor with the county shop, John was gone too, so John was absent. I didn't know if it was supposed to be absent or if it was.
Yeah. MIA.
Huh?
MIA.
Because Connie was a little confused about that too, so I was like, well, if you guys are kind of confused, maybe I should have a different wording in there.
No, that's what I
Okay. It is what it is.
stepped out.
Yeah.
Anybody see anything else in the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes as amended.
Been moved by Sean to approve the minutes as amended. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by John.
Dale.
Dale?
Hey, Mark.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we'll take a look at the bills.
There was only one add-on, and that was for Carrie Kraus. She came over and helped the recorder's office. She's from Wells County.
Sorry about that.
And by paying this bill, that account won't go over either.
Help them do what?
Get caught up with the recording of the documents.
Oh, 'cause this is done?
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions on the bills?
I move to pay the bills as presented with the addition of,
Carrie Kraus.
Carrie Kraus. What's the amount
307.31.
for the amount of 307.31?
It's been moved by Dale to approve the bills as presented with the addition of $307.31 to Carrie Kraus for assisting in the recorder's office. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dale.
Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. See, we got a couple of monthly office reports that weren't in the monthly office reports last meeting.
I see on the agenda.
Oh, June.
Do you need a motion on those office reports?
I suppose.
I move to approve the June office reports from the clerk and court and sheriff's office.
Been moved by Dale to approve the June monthly office reports. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, what's this Red River Basin Commission thing?
That was for budget.
Uh,
Yeah. Can we go back to the bills? Kelly would like to add one more if we could.
What's this for?
Do you need more information? Because she just gave it to me. I can have her come in and explain if you need.
It's from a lawyer in Fargo. And it says mental health. I don't know what that means for sure. But it's like 0.7 hours reviewed email from clerk's office and reviewed file.
Do you want me to have her come in?
And then it says respondent discharged prior to hearing. It's $108. I mean, it isn't a big deal, but I'm just curious. You wanna know more or not?
And that's through the clerk's office. Sounds like it should have come from the state's attorney's office.
Do you want me to have her come in?
It's from the clerk of district court too.
How much was it for?
$108. I mean, it isn't a big deal.
No.
I just. It says see attached, but the attachment must not be in there. Unless this is the attachment, this billing statement. Hey Kelly,
Hi.
what's this for? Just curious, I mean, isn't a big deal.
That one, the one that just, that's for that indigent defense. So when we have an individual that's from Griggs County and they end up at the state hospital, the county
So this
has
is
to
an-
pay for counsel for that individual.
This is an evaluation kind of thing?
This individual's at the state hospital, yes. Yep, so however long the individual stays based on the doctor, we have to pay for the counsel anytime there's a hearing or they have to meet with them. So this is the attorney fees for that.
Right. It said mental health, and I
Yep.
couldn't glean
Yep.
much out of that, but that's why,
Yep.
because they're in Jamestown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and sometimes our cases will still, they will start holding the hearings under the Stutzman County, and it'll be given the Stutzman County case, but it still has to be paid for by Griggs County because they're Griggs County residents. So, that's how that works.
How does that come through your office rather than?
That's through that indigent defense. That's
Okay.
what that. So, that's the one that I've discussed before, that's under the clerk of court budget, where it could be in the general, it could be anywhere else, but I don't know, just to keep things, however, in the past, they just stuck it under the clerk of court.
It seems like it should be in the
State.
state's attorney budget or something.
Yeah, that,
It, in a way, but the state's attorney also, it isn't his job. He represents us. He represents the state in those cases. So this attorney represents the respondent. So
Okay.
that's why it's not in the state's attorney, because it's
I
really
see.
not his deal. It's more of a county thing, so the general would be probably the best place for that one.
Hmm.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
thanks.
That's it? Yep.
Motion to approve the additional bill for the clerk of court's office, $108 and
Even. I move by Dale to pay the additional warrant of $108 for the clerk of court's office for indigent defense. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
So we need David? Did we pay that Red River Basin Commission last year? We could not.
I don't think we ever-
Water board.
They were paying it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they pay ahead 5 years or something?
That was.
That was the
That was
Upper
Upper
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
Why would we pay that?
Maybe the water board doesn't pay it. Too bad for them.
The water board got it.
I can make sure that they do.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if it's been presented to the water board and they declined to pay it, or if they haven't received it, I don't know.
I'll go grab Denise.
This omitted property thing that from David, that's gonna be the bins down there or something, I think.
I would assume so.
I messaged him, so he should be coming soon, but he's not in his office, so.
You wanna start on budgets, I guess? Jump ahead to something else. The Macville Hospital probably wouldn't like it if Macville was in our hospital service area. David, what do you got?
Got, if you guys saw my email at the beginning of this week.
Yep.
About the omitted property.
Right.
So after the equalization meeting came to my attention that there's century code that obligates us to add that those steel bins that were rebuilt because they weren't added to part of the assessment from the Greenfield assessor that they were obligated to add those on for this year's assessment.
Okay.
I was talking with Jamie about what exactly those procedures are and for doing it.
Okay.
To make sure we're on sure footing for doing that. Because for the bunkers, the township had added a value for the bunkers, so I'm not proposing looking at the bunkers. I'm not proposing looking at any
Well,
of
they
the
put
other.
a number on that?
Yeah, they did. It is 65,000, which is fairly low, but that's what the township decided. So,
Okay.
so I think to be on the firmest ground for Century Code, that we solely look at the two steel bins that were added on that were rebuilt.
Yep.
For the first part of the Century Code, it has the auditor acting as the assessor. Then the Dr. Sam, I think she agrees there that well, there's also for the Century Code on tax director that says that the tax director can assist the auditor in assuming
I
responsibilities for
assume
this.
that. And the $500,000 limit deal got taken away too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I talked with Jamie and the state, and they said when the state changed all the education requirements in 2015, then they did away with that one. So in terms of moving forward, either it'd be up to what you either if you want Sam and I to have a commercial assessor look at the steel bins, you could either do it that way. That's an added expense. That's probably on the absolute surest footing for a value. On the other hand, you could have, I talked with the Steele County tax director, and he sent over the appraisal information that he uses. So, what I think if the other option would be have me place the value on there. I have the same
Do you know
values.
what the cost was?
Was there a value on it before they went down? Had they assessed them?
Yes.
It was appraised.
It was appraised, so either could place the value that was based on, that was from the 2015 appraisal. The Steele County Tax Director sent me the appraisal information that he uses, so
Do they compare pretty closely?
it might be a little bit more. I haven't started on it yet because I don't want to start anything before having you guys go ahead on this. So in terms of a value, I feel like I would come up with what an I can consult with Steele County, and there's another tax director that's been there for a long time down in Dickey County. So if we want to make sure that I'm having an accurate value, and then that way the county wouldn't have an added expense of hiring an assessor to do it.
Right.
And see. I don't know how much it would cost for a commercial assessor, but that is,
Well,
you'd be coming up with the same number, and it would be a very similar number, I feel like, to what, because I have the information from an appraisal. So, and then in terms of the procedures, I think it says the county auditor shall give a notice by mail to the property owner. So Sam and I could draft a letter to Central Plains, and would also give them a call, talk it out, say have them know what's going on, and then at the next meeting, then it has the commission to hear all grievances and complaints, and then review and equalize the assessment. So it would be over the course of this. So at the next commission meeting, then Sam and I would give a proposal about what that value should be. And then
but the process of evaluating the value of those bins can't be a huge deal, is it?
I don't think so.
So why wouldn't you use all three methods and see if they're similar? One you have the assessment.
Or
The prior one, right?
the prior one? Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but the assessment's less the price of the bins, correct?
Yeah, well, in that spreadsheet, when I looked at the equalization, they broke it down to each cost there.
No, I mean, the current assessment on that property is less the price of those bins.
Yeah.
Yes.
The value of them.
The assessment, right. So what we're assessing, we're taxing, they were never taxed in those bins, because even though they were appraised, they had the 5-year grace period where they didn't have to be
I know.
taxed. So they tipped over before.
Yep.
So the present assessment is less the price of the bins. It seems you could retroactively just put the appraisal back into it and be right back where you started from.
And when we met at county equalization, that was what I'd proposed, but then the township hadn't done anything, so.
So as a town, did the township request this?
No, this is something that happens outside of equalization. This is if real property has been omitted in part of the assessment, this gives a procedure for outside of it. It happens apart from equalization.
Because the township didn't change the assessment.
But say if,
And David thinks we should because it's there.
well, I think from just the property like assessment, like from my job responsibility, like one of the duties is perform uniform property assessment in the
Yep.
county, and if there's anywhere between $3-4 million of a property that hasn't been assessed, then the property tax isn't levied fairly across all of the property taxpayers. I think it's in the email, it says in the interest of the county, because then if you have an additional, whatever these bins are worth, you guys always reduce your mill rates according to the valuation. That allows you to lower taxes on the average taxpayer. And I think that's.
So are these bins eligible for another 5-year abatement?
That would be something for them to look into. I don't cover what.
That's something you would approve.
Well, I mean, eligible, I said.
Oh,
Are they eligible for that?
If they want to look in, if Central Plains wants to look into that or talk about township, I don't.
Township first, yeah.
Yeah, I sold the only property tax I deal with the homestead credit, the veterans credit, and then the farm residence exemption. So,
Because they were exempt to start with on these projects. Yeah, so is new property exempt also? Is the anhydrous plant, was that exempt?
I'm not sure. I mean, unless anything's on the
Propane.
Propane, I mean, yeah,
No, why did they start paying?
right away.
and that new bunker wasn't.
No, I know.
So,
But that process starts at the
Township.
township level.
So I think you need to proceed and
okay.
meet with probably the township and Central Plains or something. I don't know
Yeah.
who needs to be in that loop.
Well, yeah. I don't want to be hiding anything from anyone, so they all. Greenfield Township had a meeting on Tuesday night that I was talking with them about for next year's appraisal, and I was encouraging them to have a full commercial appraisal done of it for next year's valuation, as we discussed for county equalization. But I'll keep them informed for this. I want to have a conversation with Walton and Ben, and so we're not.
Why would they do that?
Why would what?
Why would they hire a commercial appraiser to reappraise that structure?
That's what I thought everyone was thinking after county equalization was. It would be, because when we discussed it, county equalization on the 22nd, then I thought there was some thinking that at the 2015 appraisal wasn't going to be accurate, and it would be in the interest for the township to hire a commercial appraisal. Well, maybe that wasn't the case.
I think I was thinking wrong at the time, because I was assuming that you couldn't do it.
That's correct. And that's the take I get on it, that he couldn't do it, so we had to hire a commercial appraiser.
And the reason, and the other thing, after thinking about this thing, the township gets how much?
Yeah, well, I was calculating it that because I think
Their budget's probably
they get
$10,000.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in their best interest to go hire an appraiser for $10,000 so they can get another 50 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I was on the same. That's where I tend to lean too.
No, that's what
okay.
in thinking that thing through, that wouldn't be very smart of them. And that is in fact why the county paid for it to begin
Okay.
with. The county gets the vast majority of the tax dollars come to the county or the schools or whoever, The townships they don't get very much. So.
Okay. So then, okay. Then there's probably not a reason then to have it reassessed for next year then.
I would think not.
I think there was one done in when I was looking, I think it was done in 2010, 2015, so I don't know if it's every 5 years that things are updated, or I'm not sure exactly how.
I wonder if the reason why the reason there wasn't another one done in 15 is because they expanded the fertilizer plant huge, and I mean I think they did a whole bunch of stuff. That's why they reappraised it.
Okay. Because normally it should be, if there's a property that's added, it should be added every year versus just every 5 years.
No, I mean, that's probably when they did that,
Oh,
was
okay.
in 15, and they didn't just take that and add it to the thing, they reappraised the whole,
Okay, yeah.
the whole plant. And I don't know when did that, when did the propane deal? Of
That's
course,
probably about 15,
Probably
nothing online.
propane.
that's a different owner though.
Yeah.
So, so I proceed on contacting the township, contact Central Plains, and in the next 2 weeks, let's see, let's see, there has to be either, probably what's safest to make sure we follow all the timelines would be in a month's time, because it has to notify the person to appear. Where knows? Let's see. Either at the next commission meeting or the following one. So either in 2 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time.
We're gonna run up against budget deadlines here. Isn't there gonna be a time when we can't increase the valuation of the county? Or isn't that October?
I think it's October's when.
The October is when everything is final. October 10th is when you have to finalize your budget. But I think it's when it goes in the paper. Let me look into that.
You're talking two different things. You're talking budget, and you're talking
Valuation.
Valuations, which are two different things. The time
Yeah, I know.
has passed in order to finalize the evaluations. This is a process outside of that.
Okay.
I think as long as it gets done before mills are finalized, then, because I mean your budgets, you can all this is doing is redistributing where that budget money's.
You know, this
Well,
is-
it might reduce the levy a fraction
Yeah.
of a mil.
Yeah.
You're right, but this has no effect on our budget.
No,
Yeah.
Our budgets are calculated in
just on the
numbers.
mill levy.
Yeah.
Right, and the state purposely keeps that from us until after the budgets are due for the purpose, because they don't want counties levying by mills how much money you can get rather than by how much money you need.
Right.
So this will have no change on
Okay.
the budget, because that's in dollars,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. I'll keep you guys informed about what's going on, and then
Okay. Does that help?
Yep.
Okay.
That helps out a lot. And then and I'll keep talking with Jamie too to make sure I don't miss anything on Century Gold wise.
Remember, the harder you look, the more unpopular you become.
Yeah.
No one used to welcome the hanging on the town, you know.
Well, I'll keep my mouth shut.
Would you like to be the guy that went around to the neighbors and counted their cows and their chickens?
That's what I said. And indirectly, he's counting and we're being held responsible for it. They don't really.
As long as he doesn't have 12 fingers, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes you get the impression that we're not enforcing it uniformly across the board. You get that perception here almost.
It's almost impossible.
It is almost impossible. So because of that, you almost have to err to the other side. Passive enforcement rather than aggressive enforcement, in my point of view.
That's the way I like it too.
Yeah, because yes, valuations change, but do they actually change in the long term, or is it a subjective evaluation, a snapshot in time, not only in time but by who's doing it? So to rely on these valuations, appraisals, and keep changing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It makes sense just to keep it moving forward.
And if those bins were present in 2015 when they were appraised, and they fell off and they rebuilt them, they're the same.
It would be the same thing. I mean, I don't think anybody would have changed the valuations if they would have built them that same year. It would have just stayed where they were at.
Right.
Right.
Them being a little newer doesn't change anything.
Did you look at this thing?
Do you want to talk about it?
All right, no.
Looks pretty optimistic.
You think a lot of people in Pillsbury, when they want to go see a doctor, they jump in their car and run to Cooperstown?
Fargo, go to Valley City.
Oh, hang on here.
Here goes to Carrington, Jamestown,
Oh, yeah, what are we on?
Forks, Mayville.
Budget.
Well, so I was gonna say, if you're on that hospital thing, I did talk to one of the hospital board members.
No, I was killing time.
Okay.
Budget's next thing on the agenda.
You have two budgets in front of you. One is before the clerk of court is taken out of the general fund, and number two is with it taken out of the general fund. Just want those changes to.
So before we start, John requested that change be made for the proposed budget. John, you want to explain why that was?
Well, the general fund is typically for budgets that are funded and within the control of the county commission, and the clerk of court is certainly outside that. It isn't even a county function, and it's money that comes in from the state. So in order to keep track of that and be certain that the dollars that were spent equal the dollars that we are given, it needed to be moved outside. Not unlike the 911 or any of the social services or any of the rest of them, because it is a separate entity. And it would require a little bit of work, and Samantha got that done, and as I read the century code, I just don't see why it was. I see why it was in the general to start with, but now as we're going forward here, trying to keep them separate, I don't think it should have been, or it doesn't need to be anymore. I think it still could be. It'll make it easier now that you went through all the work, keeping track of everything. Now it'll be real simple. So that's where I think it should go.
So let me ask you this. So the clerk recorder budget in its entirety is a lot larger than the clerk state contribution.
Yes.
So part of Kelly's salary will be coming from the recorder's office.
It depends on how you look
Or are
at
you
that.
going to have the clerk in both places?
No, it depends on how you look at that. So Kelly's salary right now comes from the clerk of court and from the recorder's office.
Half and half.
Well, not half and half, but
Well, right now it is. It's like
Can't be.
I took, because she's equal with what Kelly, me, and Connie get the same salary. So what we did was we took that salary and split it between clerk of court and recorder.
2/3 of it has to come from the.
Now it is. But right now in this budget, like in 2018's budget, it is half.
50-50.
Yeah, half
Which
and
it
half.
should have
oh
been
right,
40.
no,
It
but we're
should-
talking about
I'm
19.
done
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
$14,000 of it comes now.
Right.
From in the 19 budget.
Comes from the levy.
No, it comes from the clerk of court.
Clerk of court's going to put in 14,000.
And the
And what-
balance will be
Okay.
so I don't have what's her total salary. If you want to see what percentage that is, you divide the 14 plus the benefits.
It
into
should
the
be
total.
70-30 roughly, but
It isn't quite that, but
Yeah, she gets 42,000, or she will get $42,169.64.
but the correct way to do it is to take the total benefits And then the total benefits plus salary in the clerk of court, the total benefits per salary of the overall recorder and divide it in and you'll get the percentage. I think it's 29.2 or something like that. So now anyway, we'll be able to know exactly if the state's contribution raises or lowers. That will directly affect then Kelly's salary because Kelly's salary is tied to the auditor's and the treasurer's salary. So if the clerk of court isn't kicking in as much money, we'll have to decide how we're going to handle that and
From the levy
raise
standpoint.
from the levy standpoint, or if the clerk of court is kicking in
Or
more.
should we push back
Huh?
at some point? Should we talk to the state and say,
It's
you know
the
what? This
canary
is,
in the coal mine.
I don't know.
Where we didn't have that before. We didn't know how their contribution was affecting us financially, or we knew, but it was pretty vague.
But this spells it out.
Absolutely.
So before we start going through budgets, do you guys want the recorder or the clerk out of the general or in the general? We should decide that, and then we only got to go through one of them.
Yep.
The only thing that was changed from what I did send you is in the clerk of court in the general fund, there is that indigent defense of $2,500. I had forgotten to put that in the general fund on the second budget that I sent you. It is now in this second one.
In the general.
In the general.
Right, it's
Yeah.
taken out of the clerk of court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the clerk of court's budget in the special budget is indicative of the dues, supplies, marriage license, workman's comp, FICA, retirement, health, and salaries.
So I think we should cross that bridge before we even
Yep.
start discussing the individual budgets.
So which way do you want to Samantha?
Now that we have it pushed out, I mean, it is what it is.
Doesn't it make more sense to do that?
Yeah. It really doesn't make a difference. To me, I mean, that's up to you guys. I did talk to some of the other counties to see what they do, and they have it in their general fund, but
They probably supplement it where we've tried not to.
No, but we're going to.
Yes.
But we'll at least know how much we're
Right.
subsidizing,
Right.
or have a better idea.
Seems like the logical place to leave it.
And if we're subsidizing it at some point, we're gonna wanna go to the Supreme Court who oversees this and ask for more money if we're giving them more services than they're paying us for.
They'll say we just require these services, give us what we pay for and adjust your side of it accordingly.
It's really precarious in these little counties.
Well, sure,
You know,
it's unfair to
That's
the
the
office
problem.
holder to, if the court decides you're doing less work, to cut your salary.
right? You can't have a third of a person.
And ultimately where the adjustment would probably come would be on the deputy side.
Yeah.
Because that's where I believe that's where the financial adjustment would take place.
Yeah. No, I think we leave it in the second budget, have it pushed out.
We need a motion to that effect?
Yeah, we do.
I'd make motion, we remove the clerk of court salary from the general fund and move it into special fund.
Remove the clerk of court's budget from the general and move it to a special.
Special,
Been moved by Dale to move the clerk of court budget from the general fund to a special fund. Is there a second for motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion?
Sean.
John, Jesus. Lord. I didn't buy any off sale in Macville before I took it Is there any
Your
discussion?
content's getting too low, you gotta pop off again.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Swore I missed.
Jeepers. I mean, we have missed lunch, maybe that's the problem.
Low blood sugar.
Hello?
Bonnie, can I have you sign in there?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, well, set aside number one and let's go through number two. No, really, what do we have? We're done with most of them, correct?
Yep, you just need to talk to Bonnie about the library and Mary Langley about the social services, and I
Okay.
think that was all that you had requested.
No, yeah, there's some problems here though. I don't know what happened,
Okay.
but senior citizens for one.
Senior citizens.
Page,
E1.
yeah, but actually to get a true picture of it, E5. So somehow,
E5 is,
senior citizens,
oh, there we go.
the final appropriation got pushed over to $8,800 instead of $80,000, which then made us levying less than the 2 mills. Not sure what happened there.
I probably just missed a zero there, because I think you levied a little bit higher so that it would cut off at the max. Which shoot, I'm locked in. We should do 80.
8,000.
Just 8,000?
88,000.
88,000, yeah. Okay.
Maybe we'll push it to the max.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Anything else that you?
Well, for some, yeah. Dale, you went off the road.
The road.
Road.
Road budget is,
Something happened.
something happened in the road budget, I couldn't quite figure out what, but it's $144,000 underfunded. $141,000 underfunded. Road is C7.
Hi, Ruth.
Hi. Citizen library board.
So I don't know what changed from when we looked at this before. But if you add in the estimated revenues,
State aid is gonna be 0.
then the highway tax is raised, I don't know why that went up either, $20,000, because that's based off gas tax and road mileage.
And the gas tax was a per gallon, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
These are the same numbers that he gave me the first time.
So you're talking the difference between 174, Dale? 174,990.99 minus 1,608,099.88. 143,319. Is that what you came? 310.
I came 141,804.10.
But what'd you use for a mill levy? I just used 20,000.
Yeah, I used 600,000.
Yes, would I? Okay. You subtract that 570 of the reserve, correct?
Yeah.
So what's that, so what this budget is saying is if every dime was spent in the appropriation side of 19,
We're gonna pull 140,000 out of the
Reserve.
that's correct.
And that isn't our intention to deplete the reserve, because that can be on for a short amount of time.
Yeah. But in actuality, because we added the 50,000, you could, if that was spent, I mean, you could take it to 124. But no, that isn't the intent, and I'm not sure, I can't see what happened here. Because we changed, at the last time we looked at the budget, it was going to be short about $48,000. We weren't gonna be able to levy the full 30 mills. So it was balanced, plus we were leaving some mills on the table, which we determined we probably shouldn't do because the citizens had voted up to that 30 mills, and now as Dale pointed out, when you add in the revenue, take the revenue against expenses, it's short by $141,000.
So are the expenses long or the revenue short?
Well, we added a $50,000 expenditure in road and
Yep,
bridge.
road and bridge.
That still makes us short, though.
Still 100,000 off roughly.
Right.
So here's some of it. In the first projection, instead of the 2,319,903, we had 2,269,361. So that's a difference.
That's
of-
$100,000, 110.
Where?
in his first
Oh.
budget go around.
Between the request.
Yeah, but like which, is it at
The
expense?
bottom number.
Between the request.
The
and
requested,
final, and the
between the
final.
requested and the final, right? But that's the $50,000 difference. Then we added the 50 in to get it to 2.3119.
Right.
And then in the second go around, we had 1,314,903, and then that was with $45,000 as a road and bridge expense. And we added in another $5,000 after that.
Make this sign in 100.
He didn't have state aid in any of them for revenue?
It's a one-time
So in 17, yes, we had state aid of $35,000.
Right.
In 18, we didn't have a state aid figure put in there, but in 16 the actual was 42,000. In 17 it was estimated at 35,000. We didn't do anything in 18.
No, but there will be.
And he did put some money that he estimates that we'll have $19,103.36 come in. But since that was not in the budget, I did not put that in here.
In 18?
Yep,
What's the estimate for 19?
0.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And there is no estimate for 18 either in this budget.
In that budget, yeah, because you always told me to only put the budget amount in there.
That's correct. That's all we can do.
But he estimates that we'll get 19. But I didn't put that in because
For the estimated amounts, you have to look back to 17 in order to project what's coming forward.
I'll just have you sign in when
But-
you get it.
That number has never been 0.
It has never been 0.
So, I mean, that,
It's never been 0. We aggravated this by $50,000 when we added in to make the mill levy come out correct. So I believe that let it play out. Let it play out just one more year, and then we'll have the estimates in there.
okay.
Because if he doesn't spend all the money, it will increase the reserve funds, and if he spends all the money, the worst it can do is hamper the reserve fund, and only to the dollar figure of 90,000, because we know that the
50,000.
50,000 is already basically a reserve in the road and bridge.
Right.
And so then if we get the same state revenue as we have been getting, then we're talking about a
70,000.
$60,000.
So we're pretty close to where we were.
Right, and
Thinking
then
we were gonna be anyway.
right, and if you look back at the overstatement, over and over, at the optimistic view of how much is going to be spent on overtime is 64,000, when in the most reliable figure we have for an audited figure was 3,900. There's probably enough slush in this budget to cover it. It probably just wasn't done exactly correctly, but it's probably will cover itself because of money not spent,
Sure.
more than likely. And there is duplication here too. The outside contractor and the reserve are both figures put in there to try to cover for matching funds.
Right.
Yeah, and we have 150 for the outside contractor, plus we have money in the reserve. So I think we took a bunch of steps here to get closer to where we should be, but I think if you let it play out one more year, we'll be able to have a better grip on this thing, because then we'll have 2 years of 17 and 18 of actual expenses in order to determine what's going to happen in 20.
Right.
And we will have got over this 1 year added expense of the road graders, and and then we'll see exactly how much of that got used, and because then next year the 18 surplus, if there is one, or a deficit, will roll into the 20 budget. We'll be able to know what's going on.
We didn't adjust our revenue from that township going away either. So that'll have a little bit of impact.
Right.
And it might be 5-10 grand.
10,000 is what we were. I believe is what, wasn't it, Samantha, the projections for township?
100,000 for the townships. There's 20 of them. That's why I said
Yeah, but is there 20 of them left?
19.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's that.
Townships 110,000.
Will that work, Dale?
Okay.
And then you're going to make the adjustment to the senior citizens so they get the maximum 2 mills.
Yes.
Okay. And you saw Ron's,
Mm.
you got all those fixed, or gonna have them fixed?
The years, I can fix those. The other audited ones that he was
Right.
talking about, I have reasons for those.
We better
Because
talk about the reasons.
yeah, because Ron had looked through the budget and had some changes that he thought needed to be made as well. And he said that the general fund, those audited numbers between my numbers and Harold's, the one was because of the fair. If you looked, it was like a 12,000 less or whatever, and it's that fair amount. And that's because fair was out of the general fund then in, and so then that's where that is the discrepancy. That was the only one that
So the general fund was in $12,000 higher, the audited amount was higher?
correct.
Correct, yep.
And so then that was that fair amount.
Yep.
And then that was the one I looked at, and then the other ones were Harold needs to change it, so I didn't look at those yet, and I didn't have time to look at that number one, but well,
But I mean, those balance, those amounts you put in there for 17 are very critical to how we move forward in
absolutely,
19.
absolutely, and I've
So why does
checked all.
Harold need to change them? Because they were.
Well, that's what he was saying is Harold's, or it seems like Harold should change his displaced homemakers. It seems like Harold should change, and so then I didn't look at those yet or whatever. But I've went through all of Harold's numbers. I have matched it to the budget. It is on.
So the carryover, the audited account balances in 17 that you put in match Harold's final audit.
Yeah, yes. These numbers that Harold has given me match exactly. I have checked
But he
them all
hasn't-
off.
okay.
They are. We don't have the final audit yet.
Right, that's the problem.
Yeah, but I mean, I have checked these and checked these and checked these. These are in. They are right. I balance. So the budget is good to go.
Okay, so, yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a final levy amount yet.
And he said it's because the Fair Board hasn't given him the books yet. We're
Yeah,
waiting
but
on the Fair Board.
we got it, at some point here, we have to have a final levy amount because now the deadline is August 10th.
Right.
And now we're gonna have to have a couple of other meetings between now and August 10th because we just can't come on August 10th and assume everything's gonna be right.
Right. But I mean, the numbers in the budget match these to the T. I have crossed them off. I have highlighted. I have gone through everything numerous times.
So, if you go through your Schedule A on the budget you just gave us,
Yep, the number 2.
yeah,
Schedule A.
okay. Couple things stand out.
Yes.
The Schedule B, the general fund, the levy amount is we're levying $236,000 less than we levied in 18.
Yep.
Now, that was due to a increase in the projections for the state matching funds.
I have looked through these and I cannot figure out why we are levying 235 less. I have that comparison sheet. I have looked through that. That is on.
Isn't it because of social services?
That's what I thought too, but social services wasn't in the general
Wasn't in
fund.
the-
Oh, okay.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
that-
thinking
yeah,
too.
right.
But on B4, that's the comparison. I mean, the budgets are right.
No, but you have to look to the revenue side. That's where if the discrepancy isn't on the expense side,
Right.
then the discrepancy has to be on the revenue side because
Okay.
you only have three legs of this stool.
Yep. Yep.
Expense, revenue, and then the
Reserve.
It's
No,
how
the
much-
the
how
levy.
much is the difference?
$236,000.
There's 103 of it in the state aid distribution, so
Yep.
it's 31%.
That's correct.
So that's 103 of it.
Yeah.
Where does that number come from?
I got that from that email from Terry Trainer. It got sent out to all of you guys too, of like predictions and stuff like that. So
So how confident are we that that's a good number?
yeah, that's, I don't know. The DES reimbursement's not there.
That's B3
Right.
is, wait, B2, the
The DES reimbursement would be the same as the estimated 18, most likely, right?
Half of it.
The DES reimbursement
Half of
will be half
15,000.
of our appropriation.
Budget, yeah.
Whatever we appropriated for the DES budget, we're returned half of that. So you can cut that and you can use that revenue.
I can basically just use that because we didn't change that from last year to this year.
Okay.
Yes, if we appropriated $15,000, then we assume we're gonna spend that and then our revenue will be half of that.
Right. Now, part of that's recorder, right? Because we reduced the general fund expenditures by whatever the recorder's budget was, right?
And I took it out of the revenue side too.
It should be a wash.
Okay.
So what are you estimating for? Revenue on the general budget, including the tax? What are you proposing the mill levy's gonna, or the amount of levy's gonna be for the general fund?
How much I'm going to levy?
Yeah.
$344,653.78.
Um, Okay, so the appropriation is 1,224,000, correct?
1,024,032.16. Yep.
Okay. And the revenue is 408,000?
Correct.
Okay. So the difference between revenue and appropriation then is 616,000, not 300,000.
Um. Total.
Which coincidentally would be all about right in line, about the same dollar value that we had to levy last year.
If you go to B6, it's got that total appropriations 1,223,000, and that's a formula, and it's, as far as I know, Ron's got that set up so that it then carries over to.
No, but I mean, just look at B4.
B4.
Again, there's only 3 legs of the stool.
Right, absolutely.
So
Yep.
look at B4, and if this is
Yeah.
right, our total appropriations are 1,024,000.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Then would you agree that our revenues are 408,000?
Yep.
Okay. So then it goes without saying that we need to
But-
levy enough for $616,000. And again, that would be very close to what we levied last year. We levied 580,000 last year. It doesn't have to be solved now, but that's one of the glaring issues I saw with this.
It seems like it's gotta be a formula issue or something someplace.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that spreadsheet, that Excel spreadsheet, so I can't troubleshoot it. Ron's never given that to me.
This
Right,
spreadsheet?
yeah.
I can send it to you. All of them are password protected. So I mean, it's very limited. He did give me the password, but I get locked out if I try to change one. So if I change it, it's
No, I'll let you guys find it. I mean, I prefer doing it.
B16.
By hand.
Well, I mean, it's, if you make a mistake, you don't have to go searching inside a computer to see where this mistake was made. It's somewhere this isn't a whole lot of written pages to do it by hand. We basically, as we do the budget, we could be doing it, as we go through it, we could be doing the budget. Again, there's three, it's expenses, revenue, and equals levy.
Right. So that the math part of it, we can work out later. Should we?
615,000 is what it.
What's that?
It ends up 615,000 is what it should be.
Yeah, according to this. Yeah, let's move on. There's a bunch of other things that need to be fixed, so let's move on to this, because this is all,
This is all structural.
yeah.
Okay. So library.
Yes?
Do we have a budget, or what do we do?
You guys had a question about their budget is E10,
Yep, I'm there.
and if I am on the same page, you guys had a question about the 4 mills, the 2 mills for the library and 2 mills for the bookmobile.
I see something that's probably not. Their insurance sure isn't $61,500, is it?
Whose insurance?
The libraries. It's payroll and insurance flipped around on those lines.
Not on the lines that I submitted it on.
On the expenditure.
What page is it?
10A. E10A.
E10.
Oh my goodness.
Those numbers must be flipped around.
75 works.
Something, because I don't imagine their
It, yeah, it should have been insurance. Instead of grant, it should be insurance. And then
The $61 must be payroll.
that's payroll. And then, so I got one off.
So payroll and insurance are flipped around on here? Is that what it is?
No.
Or grant and?
No, insurance, got added, or insurance should be the 780. Payroll should be the 6150.
Okay.
May I ask why your payroll is different than the amount I submitted on my form?
I have no idea.
I just printed mine off that I had sent to Amanda, or to Samantha. I thought that on here I have 60,850 for payroll.
What's your final appropriation number?
Down at the bottom,
Yeah.
86,240.
It's 90,180 here.
And that's the one that I got from you.
Okay. Can you send it down here so I can see it,
I'm trying to
please?
grab it, but she grabbed it from
Oh,
me.
sorry. This is what I got from,
This is the first time we've looked at it.
Okay.
We just waited till you got here.
yeah.
Unless I printed out the wrong one, but it says request of 2019 on the top of my sheet. I thought this is the one that I had sent you.
No, this is the one that I got.
Okay. We'll go with yours. I like your figures better than mine.
Your employees won't. $175 for payroll.
What? Oh, well, no, you gotta go with the order they're on here at least.
Yeah, pick one.
I picked this one in this order.
And they come in a basket, not by individual leg.
So, yeah, okay.
So the question that I had anyway, and I'm not against allowing it, but the 2 mills for the bookmobile is man, that's a stretch. And we're the ones that are supposed to authorize the mill levy, and there's no such levy even available anymore. And there's no bookmobile.
There's bookmobile services, but if you really go back and look at, okay, I'd like to take you back to the history. When the county established the library, the bookmobile was the main item. They had a small room in the back half of what is now the library, this where we have our meeting room. And when they combined the building, and they combined the collection, and they combined all the expenses. The bookmobile was expensed out of both sides of the budget, not just out of the county side. And they never changed on the line item until I think Cindy changed it shortly before she quit to say library. Up until that time, all the library funding on the line item of the county budget was bookmobile. So that is why that vote of the people was labeled bookmobile. It was not intended to be just for the bookmobile. If you go back and look at the articles and everything that was written at that time, the people realized that they were voting for the support of the library, not just for the support of the bookmobile.
Unfortunately, the ballot says bookmobile, and the state wanted, in 2017, wanted all that changed. And if it wasn't clear, and a bunch of other voted on issues, then they wanted it re-voted on. And if it had been voted on within 10 years, you had up until 10 years to do it. But so we're in charge of distributing taxpayer dollars, and you can only distribute the taxpayer dollars if you have authorization either by century code or a vote of the people, and we have neither. Your explanation might be correct, but
So you're, excuse me, I just want to...
2 mills is what the bookmobile vote was.
Right.
You know.
So if we took it back to a vote of the people and they said for the library for the 2 mills, then there'd be no question anymore?
Correct. If you took it back to a vote of the people and said we want 4 mills for the library, and they say yes, then there's no problem. I don't think anybody here has a problem with it, other than we're supposed to be the ones that distribute the money according to, again, the century code or the vote of the people, and the 2 mills has backing of neither.
Okay, my understanding, and Jamie, you maybe have to correct me, that the county commissioners have the power to levy up to 4 mills for a library without it going to the vote of the people.
That's probably correct.
So even though you understand that the mill levy was meant for the entire library, you will not revote or, as county commissioners, levy those 2 mills?
Personally, I will do whatever the people want done after I know their wishes. But I've made it a principle. The reason that we're in office in the first place is because prior county commissioners went against the vote of the people and levied money out against their wishes. You can't make me now. I might be a hypocrite, but I'm not a glaring hypocrite. I'm not going to say, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm not against whatever the people want done. It's just give the people a chance to tell everybody what they want done.
Okay, I guess I kind of, because at that time, the county's budget was known as the bookmobile for the library. That's how they differentiated between the city's mill levy and the county's mill levy.
When was that enacted?
The vote was in 92.
Yeah.
And the line item on the mill papers was bookmobile. When Ruth was in helping,
Right.
and stuff, and so that's what the library was known as far as the county. It wasn't a bookmobile per se as,
Well, I don't know if that argument holds a whole lot of fact in it, because there was a 2 mil levy before the bookmobile. The bookmobile was an addition.
the
to-
bookmobile was actually, and it was established before the county library ever was.
Well, there was 2 mills appropriated to the library before that, and then the bookmobile added another 2 for a total of 4. So,
No, actually, the first, if you really want to be technical, the first 2 mills that the county appropriated was for a bookmobile, because that's how the county library started.
well, then.
In 2006, there was a bookmobile on the levy sheet, but no library.
Right. And now when you go to 2007, it's the library, it's no longer the
But it was
bookmobile.
4 mills.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, who knows what Cindy did with it?
Yeah.
Because
She changed the mill levy title from bookmobile to library because that's what the county is. The bookmobile was a function of the library.
Mhm.
right. But in the cities, even back then, the bookmobile was still in the city of Hannaford and the city of Benford.
Right.
I mean, it just seems like, not for this year possibly, but it seems like we should get that straightened out and put it before a vote of the people and see what they want to do.
Okay.
Because all the other levies have that mandate. If they have to be voted on every 10 years. Is that correct, Jamie? After 17? The voted on levies were up. Every 10 years they have to be.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying every 10 years, the library needs to have the vote for the extra
Unless they
mills?
No, well.
For
yeah.
the,
There were some legislative changes in 2017 that put a sunset clause on all
All of them.
of them, that were voted on.
There were on some of them before. The road one has always been every
Well,
time.
there are sunset
Yeah.
clauses on some of, there were
Yeah.
sunset clauses on some
Right.
of them, but there are sunset clauses on
But
all
now
of
there will
them.
be on the hospital too, and
Yeah.
so every 10 years, it would be up to a vote is what you're saying?
right.
It seems to put everything on line with the rest of the levies in the county. That would be advisable.
Okay, so for the 2019 budget, where are we going to be?
Well, you can't vote on it, so
No.
I'm sure you're going to be just as you were in 18 and 17.
So we'll still have our 4 mills.
Yeah,
Okay, because really the next vote, I believe, is in 2020, correct?
There's one in November, but
Yeah.
This year in
Yeah, but we're
November.
too late for
Too
that
late
one.
to have it on the ballot for that, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, it needed to be done by last week, I think
Yeah.
it was.
So yeah, it probably isn't a real pressing issue because the voters will probably okay it anyway. But it needs to get back so it's in line with the rest of the.
Okay,
procedure.
yeah, just so that I guess, so that I know and can leave for my predecessor, because I'm not looking at being here for another 10 years,
Right.
what they will need to do.
Well, that's how a lot of the other levies are. They sunset, so every 10 years they have to be reaffirmed.
Okay, so whose responsibility is it to see that
Yours.
gets on the ballot?
yours.
Ours. Okay, so in 2020, if we put it to a vote of the people then,
But you don't have to. You won't have to petition. You just need to ask us to do it.
okay, so we just need to ask
I
for it to
believe.
be on the ballot.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all the signature things that they went through to get that particular one
I don't
on the
think
ballot.
so. I don't
believe
think so. It's like
I can look into that for you.
I don't think it requires that either.
No, because we put the road on there without the signatures. That's only if a private entity does it.
Right.
Or if we
And-
went some drastic change.
Yeah.
Right.
And well, I mean, I'm sure the budget language will say like all of them up to 4 mills or up to whatever the mill levy. So it's not a hard number. It's up to those mills at the discretion of the county commission. That's how they're all worded.
Right, I don't think, I'm looking at 1506. I don't, no, 1506.7. I don't think even a vote can put it over 4 mills.
No, it can't. It's hard.
it's a limit of 4 mils. So even if you were to send it to the public, it says that a tax may be levied for a county library up to 4 mils. So even if you were to ask the public for 6 mils, the way that the law is written, I don't think that's
Has that law
permissible.
changed lately?
I'm not sure.
Because we were given permission,
But I think that's I think
it's
that's
been
a-
in since 2000, because we tried for a levy to go to 6 mils. And it got messed up because the city voted on it and the city had no right to vote on the county mill levy and stuff. And when they finally got it all figured out, it failed by a 0.5% or something. But that's what told us, I mean, at that time, it was legal for us to ask for 6 mils.
Well, I think part of that is the 4 mils for the library and 2 mils for the bookmobile.
Right.
I think that's how the library was able to circumvent the 4 mils, was that there was a vote for the 2 mils for the bookmobile.
Because I was the one that was the director at that time, and we didn't realize that you guys were actually looking at it as 2 mils for the bookmobile and 2 mils for the library. So, and I know there are libraries out there in the state that are getting more than 4 mils for their library.
Yeah, well, again,
So-
we can solve all this, just put
Yeah.
it on the ballot and see what the people say.
Okay,
Well, and if they're doing that, ask them how they're doing it, because according to limitations, it's 4 mils. So
Okay.
I don't know what they've done to get around it, but that's
that's fine.
that's what we have.
That I will.
No, I wasn't finding fault, I was just trying to get it so
Right.
if somebody asks, why are we doing this, we can say, well, here's why, the people said we were supposed to do it, and straightforward, and then everybody's treated the same, and
That's
everything's
fine.
good.
And
Okay.
if it's permissible, I'd like to find out how they just, I would like to find out that information. I really would.
I guess I would too, Jamie, as far as that's concerned.
Well, I
So,
read the same thing he does, it's 4 mils, up to a maximum of 4 mils.
And
see, we were told that the maximum was that's the maximum the county commissioners could set, that if you wanted to go more, you had to take it to a vote of the people. So, somebody's understanding is
it
different.
It doesn't say county commissioners, it said a county levying a tax
Yeah,
to establish and maintain a public library services provided in section 403002 may levy a tax not exceeding 4 mils. So,
But see, that's like with the hospital. They voted for 10 mils, but the legislation got rid of the 1.5, so they're only able, by legally, I'm only able to levy 5 mils for them, even though it was voted on for 10.
in 17, the legislature set a caps on a whole bunch of different.
Okay,
levies.
that's what I,
and that
That might be it,
Those
that it
other-
was-
those other libraries are probably going to run in the same situation. But if there is I would, if there's some way to get around it, let me know.
well, no, I'm not suggesting that we bypass the
Well,
law.
I mean,
Yeah.
but there might be some way legally to do it. There might
So-
be, you know, I didn't read 403202 or 3043
Right.
to see what other things are permissible. So
Oh.
that's my literal reading of the limitation, is that the county can only levy those 4 mils. But if there's some way that those other counties are doing it, it's permissible.
I will
let us
check
know.
I'll check through the state library and find out.
And
So-
in the meantime, let's, paperwork-wise, park the bookmobile.
Well, the bookmobile services are actually still going on to the
No.
same extent they were before we parked the bookmobile.
Let's just clarify.
Sorry to say that, but they're still just at a better rate of return on our money. Because, yeah, we're still actually serving all and if not more than we were before we parked the bookmobile.
You understand, if
And
people
we-
want to complain about their taxes and they see a discrepancy like that, that opens the door to do
So,
them.
okay,
Okay.
we will. So, the new one that would be, it would say library on the levy the next, or when.
Well, Jamie will craft it.
So it would, but it would say library and not have anything to do with the bookmobile because,
for the 2019 year, you mean?
well, 2020, or whenever we vote again, that it would be votable. When we would have a vote,
Yeah, we can come up with some language.
so,
I don't think the
But-
century code
but
even
I don't
allows for
think
bookmobile, I don't see that anywhere in there.
I
And it's
haven't
got to,
had-
because there's some counties that's extensively what they run is a bookmobile.
I
They don't
haven't-
have.
I've researched this for 5 minutes because
Yeah,
I didn't know.
no,
this
no,
was
but I
a
mean,
situation,
I'm
but-
sure if there is bookmobiles, they probably fund them through the library process, but I
Yeah.
don't think there is, because there was federal dollars that enabled that bookmobile to come into place, correct?
Was all state.
Hmm.
It was
we
a,
can
we
look
can do
into
that.
it.
it
and
was
see
through
what we can
Grafton, Prairie Public
Okay.
and stuff that they did it, and it all came through us. As far as I know, it was all state funding, unless the state was getting federal funds to put into it, which maybe they did.
Okay.
But in order to maintain it and keep it here, the county commissioners had to levy money for it.
Yep. So you can fix it now and it'll all be good again.
Okay, so we'll stand as our budget is. Okay, And we'll-
90,180 or 86,240.
Maximum 4 mils, so.
yeah. it
I just
maxes
asked
out
that you
at-
get it
Okay.
to 4 mils because it'll cut it. Dakota will cut it off at 4 mils. It won't allow them
There's
to.
no problem with the senior citizen budget, is there?
There was, we fixed it already.
Okay.
You only asked for
Does that have to be-
$8,800 when you're supposed to ask for
Pardon me?
You only asked for 8,800 when you're supposed to ask for 88,000.
That was my fault. I didn't put a 0. It was my fault.
Your fault.
My goodness.
It was a typo on my end.
Does that need to be voted on every 10 years too?
Well, no,
I'll have to look
Or
that
can the
one up.
county
Without-
commissioners do that?
I'll
Without
look
looking
at
at the
that
code, there's provisions for, I think it's up to 4 mils too for the senior citizen center, so I don't think it
And the
does.
commissioners can do that?
Right.
I think that's already assigned.
Good,
It's
good.
2 mils. It's only
No,
2
we have 2
mils.
mills.
It's not up to 4.
Yeah, that's statutory that you get up to 2 mils.
Good, I'm glad.
Okay,
I think it's statutory at the library to 2 mils, but they can take it to 4.
Well,
So-
all I found was the portion that limited it
Yeah.
to 4.
Prior to that,
I-
prior to 17, it was 2
Okay.
mils, and that's how it got to 4.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.
John, I found it.
Hmm?
I found it.
Oh, what?
This expenses is not right. It was because this is not adding the sheriff, the coroner, and the DES. So then it comes out to this 223,000. So it's adding this one plus these 3 to come up with that levy.
The expenses?
Yeah.
What are the total expenses?
This 1,223,000. It's not this 1,024,000. We were missing that 200 or that 198, and that's the sheriff, coroner, and DES.
Talking revenue?
No expenses.
Well, if you make the expenses higher, then there's gonna be more levy, not less.
No, that's what that levy is coming out to. The that we're short the 235,000 less. Like you were saying that there's a discrepancy there, and it's because it's not adding the sheriff, coroner, and DES.
I'm mystified now. Okay, so,
She was under levying. She just said she found it on the expense side, not on the revenue side.
No, like the formulas are correct. We are gonna levy 235 less. And you were saying, well, because what are the expenses? What are the revenues? And I was telling you that wrong expenses because on this sheet that we were getting that expense line
right?
is less the sheriff, coroner, and DES. So then this is the right expense.
Okay, so how do you determine levy?
Expenses, revenue gets you the levy.
Right, so
And that's-
subtract that, and what number do you get?
That was,
344?
yeah. That's then this one. Because that's our expenses.
Right, 2.2 million,
Yep.
and what are the revenues?
The 408.
Okay, so if you subtract the revenue from the expense,
You get a levy of 344,000.
oh,
That's this page.
I got like 600.
If you subtract 408 from 2.2 million, you get $615,000. Excuse me, $815,000. I mean, the mistake you made it worse. You made it worse.
We needed more revenue and we found more expense.
Right.
Looking in the wrong pocket.
That sounds like my life.
I'm real familiar with that scenario.
See, now it shows we should levy this amount using those numbers.
This number is taking this number plus this number. This one plus this one is getting you that one. This number is taking
Let me see.
I don't know what that one is.
Now, if the library can only have 4 mills, which equates to about $80,000, and the final appropriation is 9180.
It'll just cut it.
It'll cut it
Just
off.
cut it off,
Yeah.
but doesn't that go back and affect your,
Mhm.
does the spreadsheet fix that? In the formula, or, it's over budget from what it's going.
Oh, you're asking if it's gonna throw the 91 onto the,
Yeah. it's-
rather than the 80.
Yeah, on your appropriation, that 1,223,000, should that be cut by $10,000
That's
just
just
on
the-
the library? If this is limited to 4 mills, which will be roughly $80,000, right?
Right.
Well, then that's $10,000 that.
This is
comes
the
off
general
this.
fund, and they're not in the general fund.
They're not in the general fund.
No.
Senior
Okay.
citizens is gonna get 40,000.
Approximately. Okay, Sam. So this number here is the carryover from last year's general fund. That's what you're coming up with that. Okay?
Okay.
So here's the revenue,
408.
408.
Yes.
Here's the carryover, 486. 486 plus the 408 gives you 894.
759.22.
There you go.
That's in there.
Yep, right. And that's how you're coming up with it.
So this is right.
If you're carrying if you're gonna carry that, if that carryover number is correct, does that match Harold's
Harold's,
number?
yes.
And assuming that the state numbers are correct.
That's state aid.
All right, well, we'll move on to something else. We'll get all this, as soon as we get a whole copy of it, we'll look at it again. Make a motion to make a 5-minute break.
Been moved by John, then we take a 5-minute recess. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries.
The road department.
Back to order. Mary.
Okay, I submitted 2 budgets. The
first one did not include the county burials, and that one was for a total of $750,000. This is a combined budget set on the formation of a district between Nelson and Griggs County. And if you look on the third page of the sheet I provided, it tells you what the grant fundings are gonna be from 2206. So Nelson County is going to be receiving $381,000, $395,000 for 2019, and Griggs is gonna be receiving $350,803. And these are based off caseload. So if our caseloads fluctuate by 5% in any department, they reduce our second half of the payment in June. And then I also figured in what home and community-based services, just a rough estimate of what they bring in.
Is that the pay one, the ones that pay?
Well,
for
these are the
services?
ones that the state reimburses us
Oh,
for.
okay.
When they formulated 2206, they forgot about home and community-based services, so it's just kind of gravy on top of all.
So you have a little revenue.
We have a little revenue.
Sure, okay.
And then the second one I submitted was for $762,800. And that one included four burials, 2 for Nelson and 2 for Griggs. And by doing that, it took me over $12,800. And that can be, if we have 4 burials, that can be used out of our carryover fund, the $100,000 that the state allows us to carry over each year.
Wasn't there some question whether we should move that to the general?
I thought we did.
You did last year,
Yeah.
and then it was moved back because you and I had a conversation about expenses. Some counties have already moved it to their general fund and it's there. Some counties have not yet.
And that will affect your state funding or not?
Yeah, I thought we had moved it, but then we moved it back.
I added it back into the budget,
Okay.
my budget last year, for this year.
Because it kind of muddies the water when you've got a district. Anyway, right? Because one might be paying for the other one's burials, or vice versa. I mean, it probably, in over 100 years, it probably comes out in the wash.
Probably.
But most likely Griggs County will be on the short end of that because we have a smaller population.
You know, and you never know. I mean, one year Nelson County had 0, the next year they had 7.
Right.
It's hard to,
Right. I mean, and it's not a huge number, but
no, it's not. It's not.
that's just whatever you guys think. So how's the district formation thing go?
I have a rough draft of it. I can let you, it's very rough. I was working on it before I came down. I can give you a copy.
I mean, does it require state approval or what are
Yes, yes.
they? Okay.
So my,
So you bring it to the county commissions first and then submit it to the state? Or how does it go?
yeah, each county has to approve it. And what I did was I got the plans from Lake Social Service District, Eddie Foster Wells, Central Prairie Social Services District, Dakota Central. Those are the 3 districts that they're basically all the same plans. They're all the same plans, with each county's numbers plugged into them.
So do we need to have a joint meeting to reconcile the differences in
Something's gonna happen.
salaries, benefits, blah, blah, blah? I mean, that's gonna have to be one of the steps in this process.
Right, right, and because the budget, the district and the budget come to a head at the same time, and I needed to have my budget in, I just did it. And I did it as, like we had talked about, Nelson County provides a full family health insurance, Griggs does not. So my health insurance might be a little on the high side. Only 2 members from Griggs County would need a family. So those numbers could look different.
Right. But are these people are no longer county employees, or are they state employees?
We're still county employees. We're in the pilot project right now, so that means 18 and 19, we're in that biennium. We're following the Century Code.
How can we have 2 sets of benefits plans for the same employees?
We can't.
Well, if we do what you're planning to do, Griggs County will.
Right, and that's what like I'm saying, the budget came due, the district plan came due. I've redone this budget numerous times, and I'm working on the district plan in conjunction with that, so. These are the sticking points that we need to talk about.
Right.
And in the plan, I have outlined some of the differences already. My hope was to get 2 representatives from each county to meet along with myself and Jamie and hash this all out. Timing hasn't allowed me to do that as of yet.
How's the accounting done in Nelson County? Does the auditor do it for social services? Or do you have a bookkeeper in your department?
Well, the bills come, just like we do it here, the bills come to us. It would be run through the auditor to get the vouchers.
They aren't.
They are.
They are.
They are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I can do is print out a copy of the rough draft of the district plan that I am working on, so you
Okay.
guys can review it, if that would help you.
I just knew there was gonna be some differences that would have to be worked out. But I don't know the legalities of how you can set this district over here and have the existing employees over here when they have all had the same set of benefits and stuff in the past.
Yeah, it's one of the hurdles I discuss at the board meetings.
And I would imagine insurance is the biggest thing, huh?
Insurance is the biggest thing.
Salary. Nelson County is more liberal on everything than we are. Basically. So if there has to be a humongous change made that will cost Griggs County a lot of money, then it's gonna be a scratch and match to see what we should do.
Well, this is money that's not taxpayer dollars for the next biennium.
No, dear, I'm talking about,
Oh, down the road, the other ones.
I'm talking about, you
Other
got 4 girls
departments.
back there on the other end of that.
Got it. Yes.
Okay, now if we have to offer them full family, what do we do with the other 30 employees?
Got it. Yes. Yes.
John, you got a question?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
So the $750,000 takes into account all the money, all the state money from both counties into the social services
Yep.
system.
Yep.
The state money is gonna be $732,198.
Okay. So then as I look back here, and all I can look back on is 18 and 17 as far as what the social services budget was for Griggs County. And I'll just go through these. So the board members, I don't see it, these are things that are not in your 19 budget that were in 17 and 18. So the board members' salaries, I assume Griggs County is still paying for them.
That comes out of the grant money.
Okay, I don't have it, it's not in the requested budget for 19, there's no line for it.
Well,
Thought I saw it somewhere.
well, Nelson, okay, so this is the Nelson County spreadsheet, and Nelson County lumps things together more than Griggs County does. Griggs breaks theirs out. But the boards, board meetings and everything is
Is
included
that
in
in,
the budget.
is that the board per diem there?
Board,
Is that what- is that the salaries? First page, $2,000?
Yep,
Well, I'm just looking at our budget,
Oh, okay.
okay.
because I mean, that's what we're going to,
Right,
Ultimately, yeah.
formatted.
right, I mean, because the bottom line in our budget comes to the 750.
Right.
And there's a bunch of things evidently that don't transpose across here. So the other ones are job service at 1.8%, workforce safety at for $1,200. I'll give you the amounts: $3,200 for the job service, $1,200 for the workforce safety. Repairs, of course, $2,399. Snow removal, $1,310. Maintenance for the repairs in the printer, $2,400. Electricity, $1,900. Water, sewage. Computer changes, lines, printer supplies, on and on. Anyway, it amounts to about $23,750. That is possibly in this budget, but possibly not. How does that? I guess the decision has to be made. Is that going to be Griggs County's contribution to social services? Or is social services supposed to stand on its own as per the wishes of the state?
What are you talking about?
Like the building and
The building and all the incidental, there's $23,000 over and above the $750,000 budget that will be paid for by the county.
Is that figured in the countywide cost allocation?
We've tried to get those people to come here and speak with these
It
guys
wouldn't
because
done.
I don't understand that form and I can't explain it to these guys, and we've asked them and they don't return my phone calls anymore.
Doesn't Maximus come down here and do it?
Abacus.
Abacus, it used to be Maximus.
Yeah, Abacus does it, but I've asked them to come and they don't return my phone call anymore. They said that they would come and speak with us and now they don't.
So in more simple terms, we provide everything the building has to offer without being reimbursed for that.
There's something with the countywide cost allocation that figures into, but I'm not sure how all that works, because that's not my area.
Yeah.
But I know like in Nelson County, space in lieu of rent goes back to the county, not to social services, it goes back on the county. They get reimbursed for it.
Well, I don't see
portion
it
of
in
it?
We
I
didn't
don't
get
see
any
the revenue or
we didn't
I
get
don't
any
see the-
reimbursement because we were in the same
Separately
building now.
from this, you mean?
Right.
Well, with the SFN, the forms we use are the 71 and the 119. So when prior to 2206 changed everything. So we're all kind of trying to figure out how this all works. But we would do a formula each month, send it to the state, and the state would reimburse. We would get a check each month. And so much of it would go into the social service fund, and so much of it would go into the county general.
Yeah. All these expenses should be county general. I mean, it's everything that's taken care of here by the county that isn't
Right,
paid for
and
by
that's
social service.
and that's part of the discussion the state is having with 2206 is we're still county employees, we're not state employees. They're trying to figure out, did I bring my numbers, how that's going to work. It's going to be 1.3 some million additional funds that the state would have to come up with if they move us from county to state employees. So they're still working on their whole funding and where the funding is going to come from. 2206 funding for 18 and 19 came out of a block grant from the oil revenue money, I believe is what Terry said. So that's where the money came to fund us for these 2 years. January is a new legislative session. At that point, I'm sure they're gonna figure out what the expenses are and where the money's gonna come from.
Yeah, I understand mine goes all the way back to who's in charge of social services. The state took it over, they took it away from us because they didn't like the way we were spending the money they were contributing, basically. They wanted complete control, but they aren't making full payment for it. So now they are only giving a special payment, expecting the county to step up and provide monies. When we were doing that before, they were sending us the money. They'd only send us a limited amount of money for the services they wanted. Now when it gets reversed, they expect us to kick in for the services they demand over and above what they're willing to pay. So where is the line? Is it either, are they in charge or are we in charge? They say they're in charge. They took it completely away from us. Well, then shouldn't they pay for it all? Should they get all these services?
Here's another mandate, pay for it.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and we're the ones that are stuck in the middle, John. We're the ones that are stuck. I mean, here I am. I'm trying to figure this out.
I'm asking this for the taxpayers. So the taxpayers, what is in their best interest? Was it in their best interest to have it at the county level and let the decisions be made here? Or is it the best interest to have it at the state level and we don't have any input? And the state says it's in their best interest to be there, but then they're not providing all the funding. So I don't know what the answer is. All I know is it's taking control and then not taking complete control and then making the county commission make the decision that shouldn't have to be made. It should be a bill should be turned in and here's the budget you have to live within. So it's a question. I don't know what the answer is, but somehow we got to develop a policy for that, because if we're going to merge these two together, the policies have to be the same.
Right, and that's part of the district, is to get the policies the same and get everything the same.
It seems to me the easiest policy would be that the social services stand on its own with state supplied cash.
But
That seems to me the easiest way to do it.
Right, but according to Century Code, it doesn't work like that.
Why is that?
Let me find my code. Somewhere in here I have code. This talks about the formula. This all talks about the director. I don't have the right one. Where it talks about, and then Jamie's gone. Yeah, I can let you guys read this one. This is the revision to the, to take into effect,
What's the number?
Chapter 50-34, State Funded Social Services Pilot Program.
And what subsection?
50-34-01. That's where it starts. This just talks about the funding formula, not about.
Yeah, it really doesn't say much.
No, so I'm wondering if it's in this one, which is,
Well, I think that first sentence says it all, John.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's my point, but I mean, I was giving him the benefit, maybe there's a but or an also or something else where the state
No,
can.
it's, you provide all infrastructure and hardware and we'll provide the administrative cost.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Basically.
So it's spelled out that we pay those costs, those bills.
It's not spelled out, but that,
Mm-mm.
It
it's
implies
spelled
that's-
out what the state's paying for.
Mhm.
The Department of Human Services shall administer a statewide pilot program for state funding of staffing and administrative costs related to the administration of economic assistance and social service programs. Everything else is still on the county. In my head, I mean, that's what. They're not taking over the funding of social services at all. Just the part that they want to. Right?
Well,
And
but if you
it
go
can-
to the formula for payments, it pays for more than that.
but they're also basing it off of calendar year 2015,
Right, you're right, but I
which
mean,
is
yeah.
way behind.
Oh, no doubt, it might not be right, but it bases on more than administrative costs. It's for the total cost of running the. They don't show the formula, though, do they?
I do have the formula somewhere in this mess.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Caseload numbers. So it's the cases divided by expenditures. Okay, so it's, so the 2015 expenditures plus 25% of a 3-year average indirect cost for calendar year 12, 13, and 14, minus D, which is an annual 2015 payment made by MMIS, equals E, which is our net expenditures.
So they classified the indirect cost as the operating cost minus the administrative and the
25%.
and the salaries, the way it looks.
25% of a 3-year average indirect cost for calendar year 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah, but I mean,
Way
that's
behind.
less before that it says the administrative and staffing costs as well as the federally eligible indirect costs.
Yeah, and that's where we talked about each county was so different and how some counties were paid differently per case. But I do have the sheet if you want to look at it, how they come up with their figures
Not fun.
for economic and social services. trust me, we all screamed about it.
Okay. So the only one that I did then that we are in question about that would have to add specifically into the general fund then would be the burial, correct, Samantha?
Correct.
Because the rest of these are just, they just roll into the overall general budget. I mean, the snow removal and all that, it's just, yeah. And what was the projected cost for that?
Well, based on the district, I did.
12.8.
For 12.8.
But are we responsible for half of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we had the $6,400 here last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, I figured 2 for each county. That's where I come up with that number.
But you want that split out, you don't want that part of your budget, you'd rather have the counties handle that individually?
Well, how I figured was, well, originally it was to put it on the general fund, and then you and I had that discussion, and so I added it back in, knowing that I would have to tap into my reserves. So basically, it was each county budgeted for 2 has been my recommendation, back on the general fund.
Nelson Gosney's gonna do that too, put it in their journal.
I meet with them next, the second, August 2nd.
Yeah, we'll both have to do whatever.
Yeah, both have to do the same.
Yeah,
Either the counties
absolutely.
pay for it individually or in the general fund.
What do they do
I
up
think we
there
should
now?
put it in the general fund.
It's in the
and
general now up in Nelson, right? It's not.
No, I recommended that going into 19, both to keep it consistent,
Go into your budget.
go into the, well, I recommended it go back on the county general.
Okay.
And then John and I had a conversation, so I budgeted for 2 into each. So that's why I have 2
I see.
budgets.
But you're probably actually correct. In order, as Troy brought up, we don't know how many people are gonna die each place, so maybe we better keep it.
Chances are pretty good over time, we're gonna come out on the short end of the stick, cause they got a lot more population than we do.
As they say, maybe we better bury our own dead.
I
Just so you know, we
kinda,
encourage people to contribute to a prepaid burial when they come in,
Yeah.
so.
So if we just move that $6,400 outside of,
12,800, right?
no, that's the.
Half of it.
Our
Yeah.
half, we'd move half of it into our general fund.
Oh, yeah,
So then you can
And that way, if it runs over, we have surpluses in the general fund to handle it. If it runs under, it's no big deal. And it doesn't, it's not Mary's concern then, it's just
Right.
gone.
Right, so that would be back to the $750,000
Right.
budget that I.
Mhm.
And that makes it really
proposed.
clean, then that's exactly what the state
Yeah.
is contributing. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But then, this isn't a time for that discussion, but at some time, we're gonna have to come to a understanding between Nelson County and Griggs County and what's provided and what isn't, and
And that's part of the process of the district, I just haven't gotten there with supervision and caseload and everything that's coming down at the same time. I can give you, like I said, a rough draft, when I go back, I'll print out some copies for you guys to review.
with the understanding that it's not gonna be completely equitable to a taxpayer compared on an individual basis between Griggs County and Nelson County. It can't be,
Well, and we're doing
because
things,
we're,
right,
so
and it's based on a proportion, so like I have to sit down and squeeze the numbers, but I'm thinking like a 70-30.
yeah. it's
70
whatever.
Nelson, 30 Griggs you know, like I said, I haven't crunched the numbers that closely yet.
Well, wouldn't the percentage be based on the state's contribution?
It's based on, I have the formula in my,
well, once you form a district, we're funded at one level, Nelson's funded at one level. You roll that all together and do
Right.
whatever you need to do to get your job done. Now, the rest of it doesn't matter, does it? Or are you talking about the contribution from the taxpayers?
There's no taxpayer dollars as of now.
Right.
No, well, there is indirectly.
Well,
The building.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, but we're each gonna have to deal with that.
yeah.
yeah.
There's no way to get equity that way.
No, well, no.
You just gotta go where the work is, what it amounts to. I mean,
We'll just-
how do you know what it's gonna be? It might be
It's no different
70-30 one year, it might be
Right.
65-35.
And I'll tell you what, this year, Griggs is getting a good deal, because Nelson's, our child protection reports in Griggs County are double of what Nelson is. And they're paying for 40% of her time, so, you know, I mean, and it could flip-flop next year, you know, so I mean, I just think we just do the work and, you know,
Okay.
and I will go print that out.
Very good.
Very good.
Okay, I'll
Thanks,
go
Mary.
print that out.
Thank you.
So which one do I change over?
$750.
You need to change the county burial into the general fund for $6,400. And then you need to put the social services at our whatever the state's contribution is gonna be of $350,803. Is that right?
Assistance burials.
Where's burials on this sheet? I don't see it.
It is, and it's over here in our budget. It shows last year's budget. So go to, Human Service, go to C-17. Excuse me, go to C-16B and go down county burial. Last year it was at $6,400. Must use the same formula as this year.
Oh, there it is. It's not in there though on the requested.
No, it isn't, because it's not gonna be there. It's gonna get moved to the general.
So you want $6,400 in there?
So she doesn't have to do anything with it.
I don't have to take it out of that one, but I added it into the general.
Yeah, but when you take it out of this one, you'll have to increase, the bottom line number is still gonna be,
$750. But there's no number in county burial, so that's fine.
well, it's not 750. That's the joint.
Yep.
Right.
The number's gonna be 350,803, I believe.
Yeah, that's our payment.
That's what we're
Oh.
gonna get from the state.
Yep.
Okay.
$350,803.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be next year. It'll be a district. It won't be Griggs County.
Right.
Do we take half of that 17,802 and put in ours?
As a revenue?
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
That's that home community-based services.
And that comes right to Griggs County, or that comes to the,
They get reimbursed from the state on it, so it depends.
No, that's what makes up her shortfall.
Oh, right.
that goes to the social services, doesn't it?
That's got to stay
Right,
there.
it's just a reimburse, that's in and out. Yeah.
That's what was gonna cover the burial. Okay.
Okay. What else on the budget?
Well, there'll be some more stuff. Let's get it, let her catch up with it and get us. Now you can put everything onto a levy sheet, correct?
Do you want me to make up a new levy sheet?
A finalized levy sheet so that we, just like a finalized budget.
So we
So-
have an estimate of what we're doing?
So not just this. You want an actual levy sheet.
Just a levy sheet as it concerns the funds that the county commission is in charge of. What the county's gonna levy.
Okay. That's not in here. Because wouldn't that just be
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
this page? And then those other?
Itemized, all itemized, right, and it's not there now, so we wanna know a total dollar amount that's gonna be levied. And we wanna compare that to last year's.
Okay.
So, our levy sheet,
You know, you're just doing the general. We want, No, that's not just the general, is it?
The front page is, but then if you go into the beginnings of C, like C1 and stuff, those are the levy sheets, or what I would levy for those special revenue
Where is
funds.
our levy sheet?
Because C1 would be like roads levy. And
Right, but I wanna look, the check is, when you put on a levy sheet, the total overall levy for Griggs County, that takes into account all.
Okay.
You know, how you print the levy sheet with the townships and everything.
Yep.
And you go in the general and you look at the special funds,
Yep.
we need a total of general funds, total of special funds, everything that Griggs County levies for. That we're in charge for.
So you basically want me to do a levy sheet, that's correct?
It doesn't matter, you don't have to have the county, you don't have to have the townships and that on there.
Okay, but that's what you're wanting.
Right, we
Okay.
want to look at the total levy that the commissioners are in charge of,
Okay, okay,
right? And compared to last year.
that's what you want, got it,
Well,
okay.
because you need to determine whether or not we have a zero net increase. That's a sheet we need to do. Zero sum net increase.
Yeah,
Because that's what we're trying, that's what the August 10th deadline is all about.
Mm-hmm.
If we're over, then we have to have a meeting. If we're not, we don't have to have a meeting. So we need to know, the budget needs to be done before August 10th,
right,
finalized.
right.
What's the meeting, the 4th or something like that?
That's what I thought, Schedule A, page 2 was,
Huh?
is that comparison.
Oh, we don't do the first?
Schedule.
Schedule A, page 2, comparison. I thought that's why Ron made that one for you. Because these are all the formulas taking those, you know. Obviously, senior citizens is incorrect. Social services isn't in here, so I can make those changes, but isn't.
Health district isn't supposed to be in there under special funds, is it? Isn't that on the levy sheet? On the township levies?
The health district, that's the Nelson Griggs Health District.
Oh,
Yeah. Not the house, you're thinking the house.
no. Oh, I was thinking emergency medical. But that's not, you fix that.
Right.
So we're gonna levy $155,000 less than last year, and that's based on that increased revenue number, which is a guess. I don't know if I like that too good.
And it's based on that carryover from last year too. Yep, that's.
So we should probably keep it roughly the same and put it into a reserve in case that revenue doesn't come in. Otherwise, we're gonna be.
That's what I recommend,
Okay.
Do you recommend that I put this, once I get the numbers corrected and stuff like that, do you recommend that I put that bottom number into a reserve in the general fund, or what the general fund is, which would be that, 200 and,
Well, if that bottom number, that $155,000 is the actual number, then it would be 5.5 mils, no, excuse me, it would be 7.5 mils additional.
Roughly.
And then we would take that number, that would increase the reserve in the general fund by $155,000. So
Okay,
now we
you
would
use
have
155.
$350,000 of reserve in the general
Right.
fund, budgeted expense.
Okay.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but none of this would be necessary if we just let those funds revert back to the treasury every year. It would be so simple. It's expense, revenue, levy. And if one of them is short, pull out of the treasury and show the transfer. But it makes Samantha's job a lot easier.
Anything else on the budget?
So,
Make those changes, send it to you, and did you want to set up a special meeting for
yeah,
the
we'll have to set up a
next?
special meeting as soon as you get it done.
Okay.
So you don't have to, as soon as you get it done, so we can
You got it.
This is what I handed out at our last board meeting, minus the draft on top.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
You bet.
Thank you, dear.
You get one too.
There you go.
Thank you.
You bet.
Oh, and that'll go in the general reserve fund, not the emergency reserve.
Say that again.
That money will go to the general reserve, not the emergency reserve.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of that, it's on my list.
What was on your list?
An emergency reserve fund.
Emergency is C19. That's
C19?
C19.
Jamie, what do you know about special funds and moving money in and out of them?
You mean the special revenue funds?
No, yeah, special revenue funds.
That money, oh, we had the big discussion on this a couple of years ago.
I know.
That money is dedicated for only those funds. And I think it can only be used for those funds unless that fund is no longer existing. Then it can be moved into the general fund a year after it's no longer existing.
Yeah.
I believe that's the case.
So. We
Just
have
a
an
year, I
emergency-
thought it was like 3 years.
I thought it was 3 years too, because there's 3 years taxes owing, so that you'd have to
Okay,
keep
maybe
it.
that's the case then.
Yeah, yeah.
We have the emergency fund, which resides within the general, which we have use of. Excuse me, the general fund, the general reserve, which resides within the general fund, which we have total control of. We have the emergency reserve fund, which is in a special fund, which is the uses of it are so limited. It would be nice if we could move that money, still call it emergency reserve, but move it into the general fund so that it was more liquid. It would broaden the use of it.
Right. I'll have to do some research. Until that fund is no longer existing, I don't think it can be done, but I can research.
So what defines not existing? Not using it for?
Well, no
just
longer.
Not putting
no longer-
anything in it?
Closed
not
out,
taking,
no longer taxing for it.
Well, we haven't taxed for it for a while. It's been there, but it's not usable. I
But-
mean, because the definition of emergency is so confined. I mean, it's weather related. Is really what it goes down
That's
to.
about all it is, and
You know.
and it can't even be. I know we ran in a situation in Nelson County when we needed a snow blower,
No,
and it couldn't even. It can't be used for capital outlays.
no capital outlay. I mean, you could use some of the rationale that have been used in the past. If the emergency is, we're out of money.
No, I think we are going to use it this year to make some repairs to some of the roads, or I don't remember exactly what stuff in Nelson County, but I get some damaged roads because of the weird springs. But it's really limited.
They'd probably use it on some of these where the river's encroaching on the county roads.
Yeah, I think that, or if like this year when the frost, I think what we're using for Nelson County, if I remember right, where we had all the frost boils and we had road problems different than what we've had in the past, where the frost came out so late and made road trouble. I think we used it in that situation.
But if we just get it moved in, so we could have more use of it, or it would still be there. But
Right.
again,
I don't think it's doable, but I'll do some research and see.
Okay, Tom.
Ag and clear. When John and I discussed it this morning, I talked to Lynn, and he was kind of just disappointed. I mean, shucks. Because I think what's gonna happen is if we don't push it, it just won't get done, but that's what it is.
What are you
There's
talking
another guy that has a Bald Hill.
What won't get done?
they're talking about. I think you're talking about the assessment that could be applied by the county commission for cleaning drains. 50 cents an acre.
I don't know if you read this in your packet.
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah.
But what won't get done?
I'm not sure.
No, if we don't go ahead and do this, he said the people won't, it'll never get done.
Who, what?
Cleaning the drain, cleaning an outlet.
What drain?
Well, we got quite a few. Ball Hill is one. There's quite a few drains that have problems, but
Natural drainages that aren't flowing properly.
Well, and John probably knows about Balio. I know enough about it. It's from the land from my parents' place all the way up past Binford up to where Gilbertsons are at. That was in CRP for 20 years or 30 years or whatever, and at that time no one really cared what that natural drain did, and it silted in, and the channel is kind of almost lost. Because it silted in, the water is gone from about where Richard Olson's place is at, just 2 miles north of the highway, up past Binford. That's just about to go up to where Gilbertsons live. And in that situation, it just hasn't been clean and nothing's been done with it for 30 years, and that natural drain is just kind of blocked off.
I think Tom Gilbertson said they would gain maybe 130 acres if they got cleaned out. And Jim told me you guys would gain 100 acres.
Yeah, we gain 100 acres, and I think everybody for 8 miles would probably, 9 miles, 10 miles, whatever it is, would probably gain about the same thing on both sides of that creek.
But isn't that?
So why doesn't
that the
somebody
natural-
petition to do it?
Isn't that the natural course then to get everybody together and have an assessed drain? I mean, that's what an assessed drain is all about.
This isn't really a drain, it's a natural water.
Yeah, it's a natural waterway, it is the creek.
Most drains are natural waterways that are improved.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, why wouldn't,
What this amounts to is a process where the water board, the water resource district, and the commission can approve an assessment without the consent of the taxpayer.
like they built the courthouse.
Well, no, not entirely. Because there's a hearing and there has to be, there's a hearing, but they don't get to vote on it. They don't have an opportunity to vote on it, and it's only for 1 year.
Courthouse.
And it targets only the people in the watershed that are affected rather than the entire county.
But the people in the watershed have a course of action. They can form a drain,
Certainly.
and they can vote on it, and they can assess and tax their own property.
And maybe this is something that would be looked at after they've gone through that process and tried it. And
No, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think anybody in this area wants to form another legal drain after what's been going on with the Karnak drain.
Well,
But it wouldn't have to be a legal drain. It could be assessed 1 year to clean it. I mean, it doesn't have to be an ongoing.
I'm not against the drain,
No.
but I'm certainly against the ideology behind having 5 board members tell you and you and you that we're going to tax you. Again, that's pretty hypocritical. That's why we're sitting here, is because the 5 people, the 5
I mean,
last
I'd be
people
all
did that
for
on
it
the goal.
if the people that are in the affected area, if the majority of them approve it. Just because you're just talking about it, just cut down on the red tape.
That's pretty much what it's for, because I guess from my experience with the Bald Hill situation is that for the last 3 or 4 years, everybody from the problem area all the way up to the north have all communicated and want to do something, and I think there's 1 or maybe 2 landowners that aren't necessarily in favor of it because not for hunting reasons, but the vast majority of that area, from my information, would like to do something, just haven't been able to get something done to get that water out of there.
Well, they can. Let's confirm. Let's confirm that. Let's put it on a
yeah.
ballot. I mean, let's let the people decide.
Well, and what if we did exactly what Dale was talking about and had the hearing and had those individuals come in or write letters to the
No,
commission?
put it on a ballot so everybody can say yay or nay. If the majority isn't for it, it shouldn't be done.
Well, and I agree with that. But if we had the majority of landowners come to the commission meeting, what would be the difference between the majority of the landowners coming to the hearing?
No.
Or
You have to have well, I'm not going to impose a tax by my vote on the county commission when there's another option available. And your rationale for not doing it doesn't make any sense. Put it on the ballot, let them decide. The only thing you can be scared of is they might say no.
But it doesn't affect me at all.
No, I know that. I know that. But if they say no, they say no. That's the rules we live under.
Not the November ballot.
No.
No.
You're going to have an assessment list.
Right.
Those people should vote.
Right. So in doing that, it's going to take probably $1,500 to come up with an area and an assessment list.
You're going to have to do that anyway.
No, I know. So someone's got to step forward and say, let's do this. It's a good idea, and pay the $1,500. And then once you get the list of people and you get them, if they vote on it or whatever, get letters, proxied, whatever they do. But someone's got to come up with how many people are in that area and where the water is coming from. And I mean, it's
$1,500 isn't very much.
no, well, Lynn said someone's gotta do it, and I said, well, you could be prime candidate. I told Jamie, I said, you're the man for Ball Hill.
There's a tried and true process in place for this.
It may be a little conflict for me, but I do know an old guy that likes to talk on the phone. I would probably be interested in
But
doing
there's a tried and true process. So what you're talking about is the originators. The originators of the drain get together, they put up the front money, they lay out the project. Then the land that is supposed to be in the project is assessed. There's a dollar figure put to what it's going to cost to do this, and it's put to the vote of the people.
Yeah.
All this is in place. We're trying to sidestep something that's already there.
Or with that, where they came out of Foster County, did all that work, the guys just got together
Well,
got
and did it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody paid. I talked to Larry Yerkson last night, and he said, I still need a bigger culvert. It didn't work? No, it might rain a bunch one day, and then it won't work. But it works.
Talks to you.
Well, he's gotta talk to you.
But I'm in favor of doing it, but let's just let the people that are going to
Quit growling at me.
do it,
Larry was mad at you?
push it forward.
Well, we've had some pretty tough meetings out in Sutton. Foster County put in a whole bunch of culverts,
Yeah.
and then they're trying to dump, then they do a stream crossing after all the shiny culverts are in. I said, first of all those new culverts that, and Herman Johnson is kind of, but you guys put all those culverts in and now you expect to take the water. You can't do that.
Again, there's a process for this, and it sure isn't. It starts at the very bottom and works its way up. Once there's an assessed drain in place, then the water board takes over and shepherds it through the process.
Right. And the county 19 will be pretty easy because Troy and Lynn and Tim Soma, and there's already a big bunch of the landowners that, and I don't know why they don't just step up and just clean it.
Well, but see, the reason it's a hard process is because it's supposed to be a hard process, because if you can't get enough people to go along with it, it shouldn't be done.
Well, I can tell the reason the Ball Hill hasn't been cleaned because no one has the equipment to do it. It's going to require a drag line, I think, in that situation. And I don't think that they've been able to find an affordable one. I think that's the biggest reason that the group hasn't just gotten together and just said we're going to do it. That's.
So how will this process help that?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll be able to find a drag line.
It won't, because 50 cents an acre probably won't do a mile. That drain could take upwards to probably, $10, $15, $20 an acre or something. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
So
not.
then it needs to be a legal drain process, or people need to get their checkbooks out. One or the other.
Right. Well, I asked Gilbertson, I said, when
Because
Marcy
snag and clear isn't gonna do you any good in that case.
No.
In that situation, though, Marcy Gilbertson did go through all the landowners that appeared to be in that specific floodplain or basin, and she has spoken with all of them, and the only one that didn't sign off on the whole situation was George Berger. The rest of the landowners for the entire distance signed off on at that time it was to try to spray the cattails. But like I said, in that situation, I don't think it's going to be a problem to get the landowners to get together and
Well, I asked Tom if within all those easements that were signed, if he collected a $5,000 check from everybody. He started laughing at me. But I mean, it's going to take money. It is.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you gain 100 acres and Tom gains 130 acres, why wouldn't you do something? I mean.
Well, and I think south of ours, they'll gain some land, and I think Iverson's. I think down the whole line, everybody's going to gain land in the whole situation.
And that's the way it's supposed to work. You're supposed to be able to vote on it dependent on how much it's going to benefit you, how much it's going to cost, and how much benefit. If the cost-benefit ratio doesn't work, you vote no. And overall, if more people vote yes than no, it goes through it, and vice versa.
So is that a 50% deal? 51? I mean.
What's that?
The vote
To pass by?
Yeah. Is it 50 or 60 or doesn't it?
I'm not sure.
Majority? What did TBO? Was that 60?
I don't know. I wasn't in on
I
that.
think that may have been a simple majority. I'm not sure. I think it was because I think Troy and Lynn won like 48% of that land.
Oh.
So
Really?
I don't think they needed many more votes
Oh.
on that.
No, they can't own 48% of the land.
or rented it. I think it was
Oh,
rented
wow.
or owned, somewhere around 40% of that. I think
Between
that's
them and feet.
Brian
Peters,
Peters.
Brian.
Well, it
Probably
even,
then.
even went further west than that, didn't it?
Yeah, Jimmy Pella, I mean, it's,
But I think maybe that's what it was. The petitioners owned like 40% of that or something to that effect.
But yeah, I mean, I think the water bill should help out once it gets to the point, but to legislate from up high and tell them we're gonna tax you, and even if there's only one person that's against their will, that's still not our system we should be living under, in my estimation.
So
I'm not opposed to using that method to do that if people within that drainage area corridor are all on the same page. But it's not very much money. You're not gonna do much of a project with that.
No, kind of open up the bottom. So the next question Lynn asked me, he said, okay, how about down on County Road 22 and 11 by Raleigh Retzlaff? He said, if we can't do something like this, it's probably not gonna get done. It's a natural. There again, we lose 100 acres of pasture because the water can't go through County Road 11. Would the county be willing to do something with the culverts in County Road 11 and 22, get them cleaned up so they work? So that was his other question here an hour ago. And I said, well, we talked about that yesterday, cleaning it up and putting flares on if it's a $5,000 bill or whatever. Right now, the water on some of that, like County Road, I think it's County Road 22, the one culvert is running and then it's cut a little channel, and the other culvert has 2 feet of dirt up to it. They're 4-foot culverts. It can't see any water until it, and then when it does rain a lot, the culverts are so inefficient they don't work, and the water runs over the road. And
Why don't those producers down there do a little maintenance?
in the creek, I mean, that's a pretty major creek. People don't do.
If the culvert's half full of dirt, or
Yeah.
it can't be in the creek, is it?
Well, it's not in the Ball Hill Creek, but that's a, whatever that, is that a name draw or not? I don't know, but it's pretty major. There's 2 4-footers, I believe, going through both of those, County Road 11 and County Road 22.
I mean, in the case of a road, the county has an obligation. I mean, there's no doubt about that. If the culvert that's in there is obstructing water, the county has an obligation to fix that, more than likely. But to go clean a drain running across somewhere else.
Not cleaning a drain, but Lynn and Troy were hoping that the snag and clear, it would start, because after County Road 22, it's gone. It's really steep. So trying to use this to get that bottom end opened up maybe to Charlie Johnson's, then Dan Painter's, Tan and Charlie are gonna clean that, if it's a quarter or half section, whatever Kurt will serve as a level, but, you know.
So would the road department need to have more funds earmarked towards culverts to put flares on and do some of that dirt work in there right away on these county roads?
Well, if there's dirt in front of the county road culverts, somebody should call Wayne and ask him to go take the backhoe down there and clean it out.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
What century code covers this?
Oh, it's 62 or 60. But road's not blocking water, you mean?
No, about the snag and clear.
61, right?
I just can't find it in here.
61.
It's under the Title 89, is that what you're looking at, John? Or
No, I just
No.
looking for the century code.
It might be under the administrative code.
Did it say on? Nothing on here.
Doesn't say.
61:16.1.
Do you find it, John?
Mm-mm. That's what we're looking.
Hmm?
You find it, Troy?
It's not in 16.1.
Hmm?
I don't think it's in 16.1.
I'll find it, yeah. See,
(61-16.1-).
improvement districts.
Do you find it, Jamie?
No, I'm looking through the administrative quote to see if it's in there.
(61-16.1-9.1). Find it, Don?
61 what?
61-16.1-9.1.
water courses, bridges, and low water crossings?
Pretty much just says everything he had in his letter in her pack.
Does anybody have any questions on this, or comments? What do you wanna do? I mean, there's nothing to take action on today.
No.
There's no specific project that they're asking us to look at.
No, it needs to be presented to us. the
Case
project.
by case.
Yeah.
And
I think they were kind of looking to see if we were receptive before they.
I'll be receptive if the people that are affected are sitting in this room and asking me to do it at the same time.
Yeah.
If it's just to save time and red tape, that's fine, but I'm not gonna make the call. I'm not gonna do this against somebody's will.
No.
Not even
Because I don't want, I'm not gonna do it,
Have to recall ourselves.
right?
I disagree with you, Kent.
It's like Marina told Tommy, the people with the power.
No.
Well, I don't think that, I didn't know that Tom was going to talk about that today, but I don't think that would, I mean, the guys who want that cleaned out, I don't think they wanted to do something that would upset the neighbors. Everybody tries to get along, so I don't think they're gonna wanna push something on anybody else either.
Well, I called a couple of them and they said, no, that's not what we want.
Oh, okay.
Called a couple of what?
The people involved in the one up north.
This doesn't apply to that one up north.
That's too big a deal for this.
I don't know.
There's no way.
I know, well.
You couldn't get the engineering done for 50 cents an acre on that big of a deal. So, okay. North Dakota PERS.
I talked to PERS. I also sent an email out to all the state's attorneys, and was not talked very nicely to from the state's attorneys either.
Really?
I spoke with someone on PERS for quite a while yesterday afternoon. It's PERS rules that everybody must be in the fund. It's either all or nothing with the employee. That's what it's relayed to me.
From an actuarial standpoint, that has no basis of logic.
No,
Because we have less employees than Cass County does. We shouldn't be able to be in there then.
I know.
I mean, we went through this at NODAC. all new hires are gonna go on a 401k at this contribution level. Everybody that's in the defined benefit plan can stay in it if they
Well,
wish.
and it's actually not, well, it's PERS because they went through that, but it's.
It's because it's the
legislative
swamp.
But I understand, and the individual employees, from, I think it was only a year or two, from my understanding from our conversation yesterday, individual employees were given opportunity to go into a defined contribution or a defined benefit plan, as new hires. And I think.
Wait a second, that's not what this says.
But they
changed it.
They changed it in 2017. Legislative action changed it because what was told to me was that people lost their individual accounts that they had control of weren't as good as the other ones, so they complained about it. So they just got rid of it.
Big Brother's always best. Well, what's amazing to me is,
Oh God, that's funny as heck.
you know, what's amazing to me is we get in trouble for asking the question. They're mad because we asked the question. What sense does that make?
Well, I got two emails, and I don't remember which two attorneys they even were. I got two emails from two different states attorneys. We are in full support of the PERS system. Well, I was just asking the question.
Good, then stay in it.
We didn't say we weren't in support of the PERS system. We wanted to know if there was options for our employees so they could make the choice whether they wanted to be in it or not.
And there was a year or two of having a choice, and they removed that choice again because there were employees that were complaining. So,
I'd like a list of those employees.
I mean, in Samantha's case, maybe she doesn't plan on staying here for her whole life, and then it would be better if she was in another plan. Take it with her.
An elected official, if
Yeah, elected official. Get on
November
elected.
someone decides to write in enough votes against me, just to make that money in.
Could be a recall.
I understand what you guys are saying. I do. But I was kind of shocked at the replies I got. All I said in the email was all I wanted to know was that the commission asked me to do some research about PERS, being that it's potentially underfunded and possibility of new hires doing a 401k and contributing the same amount. And two people responded. I don't remember what counties it was, but we are in full support of PERS. Well, that wasn't really what I asked, and whatever. But
Probably had something to do with which commission asked the question.
I don't think I said what commission it was.
We're not famous, are we?
No, infamous.
But I think it was a good question. I understand why you guys did it. I think the employees here understand why you guys did it. Apparently the people in the rest of the state don't.
Okay.
I also spoke with PERS about the health insurance and Medicare, and I also got nowhere on that one. That's there's no option and no option to do anything else but through PERS, but to pay the insurance.
So even if they're qualified for Medicare, we can't take them off the PERS health insurance and put them on Medicare.
That's what they said. One thing, I did get some responses on those emails that there are people, of course, there are other counties that have looked into different insurance than PERS through Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Yeah.
And it's been cheaper, and I don't know what kind of the policies they make, but it has been cheaper than administering through PERS. So, I did receive some replies. So there were some people that understood what I was trying to do. There are other people that they just drink the Kool-Aid. But there were people that there are other counties that have gone back to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and it's been cheaper, and the rate increases have been way less than what they have been during the PERS times.
PERS is through Sanford Health, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I apologize. That's what I came up with.
You can't apologize for something you have no control over.
But that was the answer. It wasn't one of those situations where I wasn't the most well-liked person at the time of asking a question. But I understand why you guys asked it, and I would have thought that other people would have. Because I think it's a valid question to ask.
So the answer is no.
No. Yes, the answer is no to both questions.
And the answer is never again. Can we ask the question?
I don't think I will be the one calling and asking the question if I get asked again.
No, and don't ever do that again.
But it was.
If it wasn't so punitive
How
for,
dare
for
you.
the employees of Griggs County, I'd do it just out of.
Oh, I know, but I
principle,
mean-
but you can't do that.
No, of course not.
It just.
But I mean, it's punitive for the employees that if we pulled out of it, but it's also a little bit punitive for the employees that we can't offer two different forms.
It's punitive to our younger employees.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Well, I guess
do what we're
one
doing.
thing is to go to the legislator because the legislator is the one that has control over it. I don't know if you would win with that, but they drink the PERS coffee.
Don't know if you.
too.
Yeah, they're on the per system.
But what's the? I mean, given a defined contribution or defined benefit option, it's not going to hurt anybody other than the people that are complaining that they made bad choices in their investments.
No, I don't think going to the legislature.
I know, but looking at a 1 or 2 year window on a 401k and
Not
on your
much.
investment choices,
No, you take it
that
to-
is about as lousy of an argument as I've ever heard in my life. If you're 21 years old, I mean, I remember, was it 98 the stock market crashed? No, 88.
One time.
80, no, 80.
Seven was wrong.
Seven was a bad one.
Yeah.
Because I was just out of college
If you
and
were a tech guru.
putting my money in the 401k and she just vaporized. But it came back. I mean, you're not going to spend it anyway if you're 21 years old.
No, we can't. It isn't worth the fight because all we punish is the employees. There's
No, I know we're not going to do that. It just torques me.
You did have a motion that new hires get put on
Oh, yeah.
a 401k.
And we can't do that.
So
we need to unwind that.
Well, I think that one just dies because of impossibility.
It's kind of like the program saying, it won't let us do it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So do you want to rescind that motion?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the state must have seen the writing on the wall at some point too, because they did offer it. But
In a rare moment of clarity. Yeah,
They got over it.
they got over it.
Do we need to rescind that motion?
I suppose that would be the right thing to do, even though
I
it's
guess I made the
impossible.
motion. I make a motion that I rescind my prior motion to put all new hires onto
Define
a defined benefit program and
defined contribution.
Well, and we'll find out next year.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
We'll find out next
Did you
year
say
what
nay?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
It was
find
a
out
voice
next year
vote.
what the contributions are going to be.
But we
The
have-
legislator sets it, so.
It wasn't a roll call.
and you're gonna get it, yeah.
Right,
And you're gonna get a hold of
but I
the
say one
people
nay.
involved with this drainage.
No, you don't
Get them all
count on a
together.
voice vote.
I mean, if we get a majority,
Yeah, I'll
that's
just.
fine.
I think
Okay.
Marcy will.
Okay,
Marcy's been active on it, so.
okay, see if we can do that.
Okay. I read this Cooperstown Medical Center letter.
Quite a day, ain't it?
She would like to attend your meeting on the 10th
Yeah.
to explain if you would like further explanation. If you don't need further explanation and just want to sign the form,
I can't do that. I would like to see the supporting documentation for their claims,
From their feasibility study.
and I would like to see some historical performance on the medical center.
okay.
And I would like to see a pro forma cash flow operating statement and balance sheet going forward.
Okay.
You get all that?
Yeah, I
You
will go.
sure?
I will go back on it.
Huh?
I'll
So,
go back on the recording and say I really need this.
Because I mean,
They got
that's a big deal.
so I did talk to one of the board members today,
Yep.
and
They don't have all that stuff.
it isn't going forward as quickly as you might have saw in the Grand Forks Herald. They haven't even got to the point of grant acceptance yet, so or even
They haven't
hasn't
even
been
applied,
turned
have
in,
they?
Right, and there's a bunch of questions that article in the Herald was not correct. So the decision hasn't been made to go forward. It isn't even known if it's feasible to go forward yet.
Says it was right here.
The feasibility study's not done?
Yeah, the feasibility study's been done, but as far as is it feasible to actually, do they have the money in hand to do it?
They said this form is vital for the grant.
Did they already purchase that land from Zeke?
Well, they got the description wrong. It says the south quarter of section 25.
But I mean,
What?
It says the south quarter. Not southeast or southwest. South quarter.
South quarter?
Section 25.
Isn't that a swamp?
Well, no, there's no such a thing as the south quarter, is there?
There's a south half.
I mean, the south half
Yeah.
is, I mean, or is it gonna go up by them pine trees that you planted, or what?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's right.
But I mean, it's quite possible. I mean, well, I'm sure that we'll go along with it, but you have to do a little due diligence. It just can't be. If it's that important, then it should be important enough to sit down and tell us why it's so important. I would think. You know, it isn't. We don't want to make the decision. It's just what's the importance of it and what's.
Oh, it's on the bypass.
Yeah.
In the CRP field, I think, isn't it?
So.
Okay, well, we'll hear her out next meeting. Old courthouse, new courthouse.
I've got nothing on talking to anybody about it. I just didn't have time.
Yep.
The last 10 days.
Future business.
Motion to adjourn?
No, future business.
Been moved by Dale to adjourn. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 4:25 p.m. on July 20th, 2018. Next regular meeting will be Friday, August 10th, and followed by the 24th at 1 p.m.